الجلسة السابقة كانت عن وضع التجارة الإلكترونية في المملكة العربية السعودية ودول مجلس التعاون. الآن نبدأ أو نستكمل حوارنا مع نون. فراز خالد الرئيس التنفيذي لنون يحاوره صالح غزال المدير العام من الإمارات العربية المتحدة.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is having a great day. With me today, there is Mr. Faraz Khalid, the CEO of Noon. Noon is a billion-dollar e-commerce platform that is actually launched in the UAE 3 months ago and in Saudi Arabia just yesterday. So Mabruk, congratulations.
Thank you. Very excited.
Before we actually start with the questions, the purpose of this session is actually to discuss the journey of Noon so far. What are the different opportunities that you're going to bring to the table, especially to the Saudi youth? And of course, the different trends when it comes to e-commerce and how it shapes the e-commerce industry.
Sure. Yeah.
So before we start, if you can please tell us more about yourself and Noon's journey so far.
Sure. My name is Faraz Khalid. I'm the CEO at Noon. Before Noon, for 5.5 years, I was co-founder and MD at Namshi, which is a fashion e-commerce platform in the region. So I've been in the e-commerce space for a while in Saudi Arabia and the region more broadly. Noon, as you all know, is probably the best known startup in the region at this point. We are a horizontal marketplace. We want to be the everything store for the region. It's a homegrown internet company that aims to empower the regional retailers, go online to tap into this growing online audience. We just heard a little bit earlier how the space is evolving. It's been fascinating actually to be on the sidelines over the last 5 or so years to see how customers have come online, and from being sort of this, once in a year fad purchase, people are actually buying things online regularly. Habit-forming purchases are actually happening in the region, which is very exciting because that means that the opportunity is only growing, and we're probably at that inflection point where customers in the region will buy their shampoo online. They will do their grocery online. And as an online retailer, it's a fascinating sort of opportunity, but also scary given the scale of the challenge, right? And the panel before us was talking about challenges in logistics, infrastructure, payments. All of that is true. And as an internet company tackling sort of this challenge, we have to think of ourselves as a retailer most of all, right? And we try to solve that problem by being a marketplace, and a marketplace that is somewhat more strategic in the sense that we're working with offline players, brick and mortar players, and trying to enable them to go online in a more meaningful way. So Noon is all about empowering the local retailer to go online, right from the Bakala all the way to the Al-Shaya and company, right? So that's something that we've been focusing on very heavily over the past few months. We've had some success. We've announced some things. Those things are now live, which is awesome. On the supply side, we are addressing those challenges that way. And logistics is actually, often spoken about, but also probably the biggest challenge. And we're very proud to say that already on the ground in Saudi, we have hundreds of drivers delivering today, orders from yesterday, which is exciting. But also we are building a very unique network of partnerships, click and collect, lockers, all that stuff is going live. And that'll present very interesting opportunities to the customer. Payments remains a challenge, and we'll sort of, we accept cash on delivery like everyone does. Mm-hmm. We're also trying to do digital payments in a new way. Noon owns a payments company. We have something called Noon Pay, which is a payment gateway that aims to become a more digital currency. So yeah, fantastic. Exciting times.
Fantastic. You've mentioned launch in Saudi. That was probably almost more than 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic news for everyone.
Actually, it was exactly 25 hours ago.
25 hours ago.
Yeah.
What were the consumers' responses in Saudi compared to the response in the UAE 3 months ago? And is there any reason why you launched 3 months after the UAE? Were you looking into the logistics, or did you have any challenges that you wanted to overcome in Saudi Arabia?
Look, we see Saudi as our home market. This is home base for Noon. We're a Saudi company, and this market is very different from the UAE, right? So we've been building a supply network. We've been building logistics. We've been building a lot of stuff on the ground, and in many ways, Noon had not started marketing till yesterday, and even now we're not marketing in any big way. We've been very quiet. We've been sort of focused on execution, and I think it didn't make sense to sort of acquire customers in any sort of meaningful scale till you were live here, because the spillover, I mean, the spillover of sort of attention and customer, you can't really market just to the UAE. So in many ways, yesterday was our launch. It's been a very encouraging response. It's been a very emotional response, actually. A lot of the feedback that's come in, it's been about the home team is here, this is our company, which is amazing. I mean, you should see people didn't go back home in the office for 2 days. Everyone was just super mission focused on launch. It was almost like sending a rocket ship into space. And when it went up, we were just sort of waiting for the audience, for our customers to write back to us. We shipped our first orders yesterday. Those are amazing things. And I think hopefully we're looking forward to becoming an important part of life in Saudi Arabia. We want to touch people every day, every other day. And yesterday was just a very small sort of start, and hopefully you'll hear more from us, you'll see more of us. Yeah, we're very excited.
So when it comes to e-commerce, I have two stats that basically unlock two kind of questions. So e-commerce account to or contribute to around 2.5% to 3% of the total retail in the GCC. If you compare it to global averages, it's around 7%. In other markets, mature markets, it goes up to 14 and 20%.
Sure.
So this is one stat. When you look at the purchases that are coming from here, almost 50% of these purchases are actually with e-commerce players that are international. So the likes of those who are in the US or in the UK or in other parts of the world. So it's a domestic purchase, but it actually gets delivered from global to the local.
Sure.
So the two questions are, what makes Noon kind of distinct or different from the other platforms? So this is the first question, to attract and make it more of a domestic kind of player. And the second question is more into the total retail.
Sure.
In this region. Is it making it more a competitive kind of industry, or you're seeing it more of a threat?
Sure, thank you. Look, Noon has to be a world-class e-commerce company to get the attention of our customers. We will promise the best service, the broadest assortment, we'll have the best prices, things that you would consider boilerplate otherwise, right? Table stakes that we need to do. On top of that, I think we are a local company, we're the home team, and we take that responsibility very seriously, right? Arabic first, mobile first, we want to be on every street corner, we want to be in people's hearts and minds. I think in many ways, our key differentiator, if you will, is the fact that we're not alone. We're not alone. We're playing with a big team, and that team is the region's retailers. We have all these large brands. A couple of weeks ago, we announced a partnership with a brick and mortar retailer here, Extra Stores. And you should see the amount of passion that team has to make this successful. At the end of the day, the fight is bigger. The fight is the region's retailers sort of also trying to address this e-commerce opportunity. And it's our job as a platform to be really good at the way our technology is set up, how we serve our sites and apps, how we do all of the things that, like I said, are table stakes, right? And I mean, we have to be world class at that stuff, which is where we are. We have a fantastic engineering team. The stack is live for all to see. Download the app, please. But on top of that, we'll have this sort of this base of supply and this inventory that is otherwise probably not available to international players in this market, given the sort of brand situation. So I think that is quite an asset. And thirdly, sort of the network in terms of logistics and delivery. We have affiliations with large logistics companies, with large F&B companies, with the biggest retailers in the market. So all of that stuff is already live. It's on the ground, and hopefully, inshallah, like in a few weeks, you will be able to collect your package from the local Starbucks, or a retail store. And those are all very powerful things, and that's something that I think will distinguish us.
And are you looking into fast delivery or points, kind of a CRM kind of loyalty program, or you're looking into kind of discounts? What are the things that kind of differentiate you from the other existing players in this part of the world?
I'll let the story play out, I guess. But we've gone live with a very interesting campaign. It's called Homecoming. Call it our own Black Friday. It's sort of our present to the customers as we come back home. That's the theme. But yeah, the platform itself, in terms of how it's set up, you should be able to use loyalty points in offline and online environments. You should be able to you pay for your deliveries however you like. You should be able to do those things, and we're very the platform will roll out. What you see right now is sort of day zero, so it'll work.
You've talked about offline and online. There's a global trend, which is actually a regional trend, which is called showrooming.
Sure.
So for those who do not know what showrooming is, it's the idea of going to the store, looking at the product, examining the product, testing it, feeling it, looking at the price, and then going back home and purchasing it online. Do you think this is, so the store has done everything it takes for them to attract this customer and then convert them, but then they end up converting to somewhere else?
Sure.
Do you think this impacts the retail kind of business or brick and mortar?
I mean, retail is going through this transformation globally, right? Where e-commerce is taking a larger share of the pie, and that's a reality, right? And in a market like ours, where smartphone penetration is what it is, internet penetration is what it is, the spending ability is what it is, I feel like that shift will be accelerated. And how I don't know if it hurts or helps retail, but I think what is happening in the region is the region's retailers are waking up, and they're picking ways in which they will address this change. You can go online on your own. You can build your own mono-brand properties for the brands that you carry, or you can build multi-brand websites, or you can partner with multi-brand websites. I think with Noon, our hope is that the retailers see the opportunity of distributing through us, and we become another large channel for them. And that's something that we've been able to get sort of good response to from the largest retailers in the market. So I'm broadly optimistic. I think the pie is growing as well. It's kind of like the overall retail market is growing. The e-commerce is growing at a much faster sort of CAGR, which means what has happened in the US will probably happen here over time. But yeah, I mean, I think the retailers are being more agile than the US for sure.
Yeah. I'm just going to give you a live example of what happened to me just a few days ago when I was going to the mall to buy a gadget.
Sure.
And I went to the mall and I checked it, and then I checked Noon, and I bought it online because there was a discount of 10%, but it is more convenient because it just I don't have to carry any bag, right? And I'm doing all the purchases online. Is this how you see things moving, or is there any reason why you're kind of giving these discounts for the consumers?
I mean, we're being competitive. I think there's a lot of price transparency online, and you showed me what gadget you bought, so yeah, and those gadgets are cheaper online, and there's a global supply chain at play in those cases. The good news is that gadget was probably sourced through a local retailer over here, so So we're able to do those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, I think it will, people will go into showrooms, test things, and buy online. That will happen. That'll happen a lot more, and it'll annoy a lot of people. So to address that change, I believe the retailers are, I mean, they're savvy, right? These are businessmen. They understand what's going on. They know it before we sort of see it. So the conversations that we're in are all about sort of empowering them to go online to address this exact phenomenon. And I think it's happening. I'm very optimistic that retail online, the collection and selection online will be very much like the offline environment. So right now there's a challenge around selection. Everything that you see in a mall is most likely not available offline. And that's largely because a lot of the brands are distributed and controlled by offline retailers. So the only way to make them available online in a way that is legal and complies with the agreements that these retailers have with their brand principles is to get them online. And that's really what we're focused on.
Yeah, fantastic. So it actually becomes an increment, kind of an increase in the total retail rather than just taking a pie of
I hope
existing.
so. I hope so.
Existing pie. You've mentioned before that this is Noon is a platform that is in the region for the region. We've talked about, or we've heard, Saudi Vision 2030, the 2030 plan, which emphasizes on the Saudi youth and creating jobs for this ambitious population. What are your plans and how are you contributing to this vision?
The Public Investment Fund is a large shareholder in Noon. We're a Saudi company. We recognize that responsibility, and the goal is, honestly, the reason we came to work, the reason we sort of sleep very little and work this hard is not to build just a commercially viable business. You know, that's fun, but the vision is much bigger. I think the idea is to build an internet company that empowers the retailers, the youth of the region to kind of look up to work in, to partner, to supply to. The startups outside, you know, they could become suppliers to us. I collected a few cards outside. You know, like we're trying to build an ecosystem. We're trying to work with a lot of the local, like I said, suppliers, but also startups to find ways in which we can sort of accelerate that shift. Digital companies are going to be a large part of our lives. It's best that they are, you know, it's great if they're local, you know. And with the resources we have, with the skills we have in the team now, and the support we have of everyone in the region, I think we have a very good shot at building a large, world-class internet company that can spawn many more. And I think that's a responsibility that sort of, I guess, Noon has, and that's what drives us. It's a fascinating mix of circumstances that we have.
Mm-hmm. So we're in a conference which is all about data and technology. What kind of technology do you see Noon is going to kind of incorporate within the overall experience to disrupt that experience? Do you think AI is something that probably you're using now, but you would be using more in the future?
Yeah, I think, look, we think of customer experience as sort of the only metric in which a company needs to be judged. What we use inside in the back is sort of at some level abstracted from the customer. So in terms of technologies, yeah, I mean, absolutely, we do use a bunch of machine learning. You go on Noon now, you'll have recommendations based on your purchase behavior. You'll see there's visual similarity on the platform. All that stuff is powered by some of the things that, you know, that we spoke about or you sort of mentioned. But at the end of the day, some of the most complex technology we have does the most basic things. You know, the fact that the site has to stay up 24/7 all year round, does not go down for 5 seconds, uses some extremely complex technology, but it's very boring. No one talks about it, right? I think the stuff that, you know, we use to deliver orders to customers, the way we track our delivery fleet, all of that stuff is complex, uses, you know, a bunch of cool algorithms. But at the end of the day, the customer doesn't see that stuff. Hopefully, our experience is such that, you know, it makes your shopping experience better. That discovery is better. You can we can surface products based on what the customer is looking for or will look for. And then at the second level, we really believe that the most complex stuff is sometimes not seen by the customer. And yeah.
So with millions of people going to the application or to the website or to your store, online store, you capture a lot of data.
Yeah.
Do you by any chance pass this data back to the retailers for them to really understand who their customers are? Or this is just stopped at no?
Good question, honestly. Yeah. And that's really something that we're investing in very heavily. To really enable these retailers to leverage e-commerce to improve their businesses, you need to give something back. It's more than sales. I think trends, things that we're seeing, adjacency of products that are being sold, yeah, those are things that we share, and not your phone number, but trends and patterns are something that we, at the end of the day, we're partners, and we need them to do well ourselves.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think this is the last question that we have because we're running out of time, but we can take questions offline. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Faraz Khalid, the CEO of Noon. Thank you.
Thank you. Please download the app. We're live now. We can ship to you in a day or two. So, plug for Noon.